Our first guest tonight is Congressman Randy Forbes, a member of the House Judiciary Committee, Armed Services Committee. Two big issues tonight to talk about with the congressman. First, the Congressional Budget Office report on Obamacare. The second, of course, what in the world is going on with the Republican Party and immigration. Congressman Forbes, great to have you with us. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Lou.
Let's start with the CBO report that the White House apparently was caught short on. They were surprised. They're scrambling to make sense of their position and failing, it seems to me at least, utterly. Your thoughts?
Well, Lou, one of the things that the White House has such a difficult time with is that they've been touting the CBO and using them to support their position for the last several years. And now all of a sudden the CBO is coming out and saying what we've been saying all along, that Obamacare is going to have an enormous impact on the economy of this country. And when you hear the equivalent of 2.5 million jobs, Lou, that's staggering. And this administration, instead of coming out and saying, well, we need to fix that, they just come out and deny it. The way they did with Benghazi, the way they did with the IRS scandal, the way they did with saying that you could keep your health care bill or your health care insurance if you had it before. They're losing credibility with the American people every day.
Yeah, I don't see how they have, frankly, on so many of these issues, any credibility at all. Because they are denying, for example, that the director of the CBO, Douglas Elmendorf, denying that he stood up and said that Obamacare, the ACA, is disincentivizing work in this country. On its face, preposterous to deny it, because 2.5 million, I love the expression, the equivalent of 2.5 million jobs being removed and workers from the labor force. I mean, this is crazy stuff that they're pulling now.
And Lou, all you have to do is pull out the report and read it. It says what it says. The report speaks for itself. And yet you see the White House just in total denial. I mean, if you walk out and it's raining with these folks, they'll tell you it's not really raining. It's just some kind of condensation that's coming from the clouds in there. And the American people are just getting fed up with it, I believe.
And I believe you guys are going to have a little fun come Election Day this year. I mean, this is going to be a heavy, heavy lift for all of the Democrats running for those Congress seats and for those Senate seats. Well, we know that occasionally Republicans have screwed it up, but we'll see what happens this time. One of the ways Ted Cruz, Senator Cruz, says you could screw it up is get involved with immigration reform on the president's terms or Senator Reid's terms. Secret meetings between Paul Ryan, of all people, and Chuck Schumer. I said the other night, as one who's had secret meetings with Chuck Schumer, there's no such thing as a secret meeting for very long.
Well, Lou, you're exactly right. And one of the things that many of us are very, very concerned about is when we hear all these potential proposals talking about amnesty and other things that could happen, we just think that's not the right way to go. We think the House has had it right. We think the Judiciary Committee's had it right, that we do it on a piecemeal basis to make sure everybody has their say, that we do what we need to do, which is to fix the system we have now, make sure we're enforcing the laws that we have now before we go on and tackle something else that we're not going to even enforce or ever make work in the future.
Do you agree with Congressman Raul Labrador that if he persists that Congressman John Boehner could lose his speakership?
Well, I'm not going to say whether Raul was right in maybe that comment or not. What I will say, though, is this, Lou. Many of us feel very, very passionate, as do most Americans, that what we have in Washington is not just a political problem. It's a credibility problem right now. And when you look at the immigration system, the real problem we have is this administration's come in and said, we're just not going to enforce the laws. And so it's very difficult for us to get the American people to believe that we'll enforce some new law that we put into effect if we won't enforce the old one. And here's the question I've asked the proponents all along. No matter how they draw the law, Lou, no matter who we let draw it, somebody's going to break that law, and we're going to be right back here 5 years from now or 10 years from now. Is this a cycle that we just get in every 5 or 10 years, that we just simply throw out anybody that hasn't complied with the law and we write it over again? I don't think the American people want us to go there.
Well, I happen to support entirely the House Judiciary Committee incremental approach to resolving this. I think it is the way to go forward and fully support it. At the same time, I have to say, I can't imagine why anyone, as this president picks and chooses and selects by his own whim what laws and regulations he will enforce and which will not be enforced, I don't even understand why you all bother with laws, because this administration has made it clear. This is going to be a matter of a rather capricious and arbitrary standard for enforcement is set by this president already.
Well, Lou, the reason we continue to do it is because this is not going to be the president forever, and this country was built on a foundation of the rule of law, and we have to hope that we're going to get a new administration in at a period of time in the future that's going to go back to enforcing the law. Once you go down the path they've gone down, which is to say that the end justifies the means, it's a dangerous, dangerous precedent for this country. We've got to return back to where we were, which is that the Constitution actually means something. The statutes written, signed into law by the president actually mean something to the people of this country.
I have to say to you as we wrap up here, it seems to me that there ought to be some positive affirmative action that can be taken by the Congress and the Supreme Court. This should not be a matter of a president's discretion as to whether he or she enforces a law, nor should a country be asked to wait 3 years for the return of the rule of law. Congressman Randy Forbes.
Thank you.
We appreciate you being here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Lou.